welcome back to Kevin Reviews. I just finished seeing the Black Phone 2, the 2025 sequel to the 2021's The Black Phone. This is return. We have a lot of returning people here, so this is directed and written by Scott Derrickson, who did the first Black Phone. C. Robert Cargill and Joe Hill also returns as the writers for the sequel. This and actually Joe Hill, I didn't know about this, but this was based on a short story by Joe Hill, so he had contribution to this. And then we have, of course, the returning cast, including Mason Thames as Finn, Ethan Hawke as the Grabber, Madeline McGraw as Gwen, and Jeremy Davis as Terrence, or the father of Finn and Gwen. And then we have new cast members, including Miguel Mora and Damien Bashir, um, who I'll probably go into a little later. And there are more characters, but I think the two that I mentioned are, I think, the more important ones involved. So if you haven't seen the first review, I did my review on the Black Phone. I remember liking it. I didn't think it was that scary. It was more of a supernatural thriller, but I at least liked the performances. It did have a good sense of humor, especially from Gwen, or played by Madeline McGraw. I have to look at my screen. I'm sorry, and so I think she did a really good job there. Ethan Hawke, I didn't really I. I'm not saying he did a bad performance, but I didn't really find him all that intimidating. And maybe because, granted, the stuff he does as the Grabber is very creepy, it's and intimidating enough, but when we actually see him try to talk, when talking to Finn, or try to see his actions, we don't really see a ton. I didn't really quite buy him as intimidating or scary, because I don't know, we didn't see it. We don't see a ton about like what he did to the kids, or um, that would make him really frightening. I mean, other than there's hints. So, but I think maybe because Ethan Hawke, if I remember correctly, he was more of a baby face, so I didn't really couldn't take him seriously as a killer. And a lot of times I thought the father of Finn and Gwen, played by Terrence, played by Jeremy Davies, would have been a better Grabber in the role. But in any case, it's shot well. I remember seeing hints and pieces of like Stephen King films involving, like, it, um, you know, either from certain movies, or at least tropes that he likes to use at times, including Gwen, who has these dreams, which oftentimes in films with Stephen King films, there's like a psychic involved or something like that. So I kind of see that. Maybe that's a bit over. Maybe it's a bit a stretch for me to say, but that's my interpretation. But overall, I gave the Black Phone three and a half stars. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. But yeah, I liked it. I didn't think it was as high as what reviewers, my critics, and audience thought of it. But I thought it was good. It was good. It was pretty close. Um, did have a good mystery. Did have some good scares. Had a couple good scares. And it's a good premise overall. So that's my thought. So now we have the Black Phone 2, and because I had a mixed feelings going in. It looks like it was going to be different, but it almost seems like it's continuing the same premise, with, because in the trailer we see Finn answering the phone, but the difference this time is now, I mean, granted, the trailer kind of already revealed it anyway, but the Grabbers is dead, and so now he's come back to get revenge on Finn. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's basically the premise. I mean, I'm going a bit ahead, but that's what the trailer revealed. So I wasn't entirely sure I was going to enjoy this as much, but I thought I'd give it a shot. And so here's my review of the Black Phone 2. So the story in the Black Phone 2, it's 4 years later after the events of the first Black Phone, where Finn is grown up a little bit more. He's still in school, in high school. I think he's like a senior now or something like that, and he's still going through his trauma from being abducted by the grabber and being kept hostage, and even killing him. So he's picking fights, he's smoking, he's doing everything he can to keep things bottled up, just saying he's fine and whatnot. Um, and Gwen is starting to get these dreams that takes her to a Christian youth camp called Alpine Lake. And while she wants to go, Finn is very reluctant because of everything that he went through, including the black phone that he had to call. So he's even gotten these calls and from phones that are out of order, and just tell him no, basically. But he goes along with a Gwen's supposedly boyfriend, Ernesto, played by Miguel Moore, who happens to take a liking to Gwen despite the dreams that the dreams and stuff that she tells him. So they go investigate the camp. There's a very big blizzard. Um, and Gwen is starting to see more of these. Gwen and Finn are starting to see and hear the boy. There's three boys who apparently been killed on the at this camp and are not at rest. And unfortunately, also the grabber returns as a spirit demon kind of thing, who is taking his revenge out on Finn, and as well as Gwen, even. So, yeah, and that's basically the plot. They go Finn and Gwen are trying to figure out what's going on at the camp. Find these boys, the boys' dead bodies, and stop the grabber once and for all. So that's the plot. And I will say, I actually really like this more than the first one. Um, it feels like it upped the ante this time. I think there's more scares in this one, and there's even like blood and gore, very grotesque. Even you even got makeup effects involving the grabber when he's not wearing his mask, and it's it's really well done. I'm sure there's some effects involved, but I think it's really well done, as well as the ghost boys that are in this film. They're the way they look and design. It's really well done. I will say that. I like the new environment. The environment does feel really cold, really chilling to the bone. You definitely do feel the um, you know plenty of atmosphere through in this film. Um, and not only that, because you have that, but you have also Gwen's dreams, because Gwen's dreams are probably the best part of the movie. One of the best parts of the film, where whenever she goes into her dreams, the film changes to this grainy look, like as though she got transported back to the past, but she's still within the present at times. It's like very old film strips in a way. Um, it's well done. It's not exactly great to look at, because I don't think anybody nowadays like to see grainy looking film. But I think in this case it works well. It kind of helps distinguish whether she's dreaming or whether she's you know in reality. Um, and sometimes that part mix. I will say there's a little bit of time travel involved, not a ton, but it does play some importance in the film. It's interesting. There's a lot you could explore with this. Um, but yeah, I really like the atmosphere, the cold, the editing, especially with you know moving from clear and crisp, the real world versus the uh, grainy, dirty of Gwen's dream world. And Yeah, I think it's really good. The performances are actually, I think, a lot better. I think from Mason Thames, who plays Finn or Finney, does a really great job. Is given more acting to do. Not as quite as much as Gwen. And speaking of which, she she is probably the best part of the film. That she totally steals the show. A lot more of her performance is out there, and you can definitely tell it. And even at times where she's being kind of like thrown around at times, it's well done. It's very well done. Um, and she still keeps her personality as a kid, where she is very, not only a loudmouth, but she slings profanity. There's characters including Cal and Barbara specifically, who is like a 1982 Karen in a way, a religious Karen. I don't like using that name, but I think that's what most people would relate nowadays. Is this Karen figure who obviously when she being told about these dreams that Gwen has, she thinks, oh, she's the devil, she's Satan or something like that. And of course, Gwen just tells her off in the most profane way possible, and it's actually very funny, because she's trying to deal with something serious and take care of something serious, and all Barbara can do is just tell her, "Oh, she's evil, she's the devil," and stuff, and it's just quite funny. And eventually, some of the other characters kind of go along for the ride, and just tell her off and whatnot. It's that enjoyable. I think, but again, I think Gwen is probably my favorite character in the film, as well as in the last film overall. Ethan Hawke, I did not seem to get into when I first saw him in the first Black Phone. Here, much better. He is definitely intimidating. Granted, he's a ghost in spirit, and you do see his face. Eventually, see his face through parts of the mask where he's all messed up, um, which does make him more intimidating. But he really puts it on. You know, puts on quite a show, is trying to be the most intimidating character as possible, and it really works. It's like he looks like he watched his own film several times and thinks, I can do better into making my character just as evil as possible, and he does. And even there's a line in the film, because he's spirit go apparently he's been to hell, and but he comes back, and he's like, everything that was part of him is gone, and all that's left is sin, and he certainly does that very well. There's definitely a lot more we see him do as a spirit, um, you know, and I that so it completely changed my mind overall. You know, overall. How are the other characters? I mentioned Miguel Mora. He's kind of fun. He does have some awkward writing at times, but I think in a way it works. It's almost like it, because the film tries to be serious, also a bit campy at times. That's why you have some of the humor. The writing is a bit humorous in a way, especially from what Gwen's profanity. Um, he doesn't seem like a big integral part of the story, but there actually is a little substance to him. That is, if you watch the first one. Then we have the Demian Bashir, who plays Mondo, and he's basically the boss of the camp. So he doesn't seem, again, all that important, other than just running the camp. But there actually is more going on for him, and connections with him and the lake, as well as with Finn and Gwen's family, to a degree, not like relationship, like kind of way, but they have some history. Um, I have to pause. I have to cut here really quick. So sorry if I had to cut. Um, I kind of have a 10 minute limit, so on when recording these, so it's like I have to cut sometimes. But in any case, you so the characters are good. The characters are really great. I mean, well, the side characters. I mean, at least the two that I think have good, good enough, you know, their substance to them, are really well done, as well as the other characters, as minor as they can be. So there's a lot of good things there. Um, if I have to say anything negative, other than the writing can be pretty bad, not bad. I'm sorry, it's not bad. It's awkward at times. It's which I think in a way helps the film to a degree, but it is still awkward nonetheless. Um, I think the sound quality needs to be fixed a little bit, um, because I could almost barely hear some of the lines that they're saying, and maybe this is the theater that I was in. That's the sound quality is not that good, um, but I I mean I could hear a majority of it, but other times it's very muffled because it it sounds like they are speaking through a phone, or they're plastic they're speaking through a mic with a plastic bag, around their mouth, and just kind of saying stuff. I don't know, it's not, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but it is kind of hard to hear some of the dialogue, or what they say at times. So not very often, but it does kind of, it makes it really hard, especially on a first watch, to see it. um even I would probably have gone for a subtitle version if possible, um, so I can get some of the lines. But otherwise, that's about it. I don't have a ton of complaints. I think this is a really well done movie. I wouldn't say it's quite as much as I said the scares are better in here. I wouldn't go so far as still say it's quite a horror film, but it is. It definitely does do that at times. I think it's still more of a supernatural thriller, but a little bit more horror involved. So I think it does that very well than I think the first one did. So I think overall I will give Black Phone 2 4.5. I think this is very well done. I strongly suggest you watch the Black Phone before seeing this one for context. Um, but yeah, I don't I think that's about it. All I can say. So it's been a while. So I have my ticket here, and there we go. Saw the Black Phone 2. Um, any case, I if you like or like this, if you like or just feel free to like or dislike the review. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering a bit. But yeah, feel free to like or dislike the review if you want, or feel free to subscribe to my channel. That's Dottie. Um, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye.